Hi, my name's Phil. I like to come out politics, and there I was, thinking that this little civil war brewing with Reform UK, triggered by the expulsion of Rupert Lowe, would need to rumble on in the background for a while. Probably nothing really will come of it until the police say something. But no, still keeps coming. The Reform UK lawyer investigating internally has said that Rupert Lowe lied about what they'd said. Lowe himself is now threatening to sue Reform UK over the affair, and there's wider disquiet in the party as the leadership is reportedly disbanding local groups and replacing leaders centrally. It's all go. And just in time for a by-election where Reform UK will be hoping to snatch a seat from Labour. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So there are now, there's a couple of aspects to the friction within Reform UK now. There's that between the big players, or former players, as the case may be. Farage has now picked fights with both Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe. Neither of them are interested in discreetly withdrawing from the matter. Then you've got the wider membership, some of whom are complaining that the leadership is sacking their local leaders, replacing them with their own centrally appointed drones. But let's begin with the Rupert Lowe thing. So when the major furore kicked off on Friday, I was in two minds as to what to believe. On the one hand, I said involving the police, major risk for Farage if there's no evidence to go on, because it would look like obvious revenge for being criticised and it will blow up in Farage's face. So I was thinking there probably were genuine allegations. The fact that Lowe admitted that the party had hired a lawyer to investigate something gave credibility to the notion. But then Rupert Lowe claimed that he'd spoken to the lawyer in question after the public announcement, and they were shocked at what Reform UK had said, saying there's no evidence against Lowe at all. What's going on? Well, I said, if this is true, that all looks very suspicious. And why would Lowe make that claim if it wasn't true? Because the lawyer would inevitably have to go public and call the lies out. That would make Lowe look really dodgy. Well, the lawyer has gone public and called Lowe out. This happened on Sunday. Now, they've not been named, but the BBC who reported on this say that they have checked out the lawyer's credentials to be sure of accuracy. And this unnamed lawyer has said that what Lowe claimed was untrue. The lawyer said, and I quote, "I have not expressed either dismay or shock at any time as to the process, nor have I said there is zero credible evidence against, let alone said this repeatedly." So Lowe's initial reaction to the public announcement of the investigation was to lie. Doing so now makes it look like there are genuine allegations against him. Yes, the reasons for the publicity is almost certainly linked to Lowe's criticism of Farage. Even Lee Anderson admitted that they tried to cover it up. It's like, why would you admit to trying to cover it up? And then, given that you were trying to cover it up, why did you suddenly decide not to coincide with Rupert Lowe being critical of you? But anyway, the evidence is certainly pointing to the fact there are genuine allegations. Now, first, an investigation was definitely taking place before Lowe's interview with the Daily Mail. In fact, some of you have commented, how do we know, for example, that interview with the Daily Mail wasn't fabricated by Lowe specifically to make it look like, to create a public grievance, because he knew there were allegations against him and so he wanted to create this situation. It's possible. It sounds a bit convoluted, but it is possible. But we do know an investigation's been taking place. Everyone agrees that. Lowe has admitted as much. Both sides acknowledge it. Second, Lowe has, in trying to form a quick defence, told lies. Perhaps he thought that the lawyer wouldn't be able to respond because of their duty of confidentiality. So I'll claim the lawyer said this, they won't be able to say otherwise. But no, on the contrary, they've got their own professional reputation to defend. Rupert Lowe has now said he's going to sue Reform UK. He said he'd been in discussions with his legal team. I wonder if his legal team told him to stop telling easily disprovable lies in public because it's not going to look good for him. Because like I said a few days ago, if there are any real allegations against Lowe, regardless of whether or not they end up being proven, but if there's any evidence, Farage will be completely vindicated. This could actually end up working in Farage's favour. After all, what would you expect of any political party where one of its MPs has serious allegations made against them, particularly of workplace bullying? You would expect that party to investigate and, if they find credible evidence, report it to the authorities and suspend the MP, wouldn't you? Of course we would. Farage could kill two birds with one stone here. If the allegations are real, he gets shot of someone who was challenging his dictatorship of the party. But if you try and say that was the reason, he will go, no, no, no. I mean, what did you want me to do? Did you want me to cover up the allegations? That would have been very indecent, which is absolutely true. It's one extreme or the other, isn't it? Either Farage loses very badly out of this affair, taking on someone with the money to cause very damaging headlines for Reform UK, or if Lowe genuinely does have a case to answer, Farage looks like the sort of principled leader who will even sacrifice 20% of his MPs to stand up for what's right. Very high stakes. However, the first public judgment may have to come before we have anything other than speculation. See, the disgraced former Labour MP Mike Amesbury has resigned. That means a by-election, one which Reform UK have had a good chance of taking. I've got a funny feeling history could repeat itself here. When Keir Starmer became leader of the Labour Party, he lost the first by-election he had to sort of fight. I can see the same thing happening in this Parliament. It is going to be very dodgy. By-elections usually are a no-win situation for the party having to hold them. Like in this particular case, like if Labour win, it's not really newsworthy because it's like, well, you already won it. You haven't gained anything, right? Other than maybe an MP who doesn't punch voters who don't like them. If Labour lose, that's panic stations for them. Shouldn't be, but it will be because that's how politics is. And of course, it would be party time for Nigel Farage. But on this occasion, the stakes might be a little bit high for Farage as well. He claims to be in this great position in the polls. His hype is such that you'd almost assume Reform UK will win the seat. If Labour win, and especially if Labour win handsomely, then a party which already has a few grumbles about Nigel Farage's leadership may grumble a bit louder. Mind you, there is real danger here for Labour. I really do think there's danger. Like, they are pursuing some very unpopular policies now. Now, they think they need to make these now to get lots of daylight between the bitter pills and the next election. Okay, if you think those decisions have to be made, that makes political sense. But it does present a problem when you have an early by-election. They're in government. By-elections don't get the same turnout as a general election. That means it's mostly the more political voters who form a larger proportion of the votes. Basically, tactical voting against Reform UK may not be on people's minds for this by-election. In fact, there might be some voters who want to give Labour a punch in the nose. So Labour are having to fight it against a background of potential DWP cuts. We know there are going to be cuts somewhere. We just don't know the nature of them. We may know the nature of them by the time the by-election actually happens. Who knows? But that's not looking good. There's no obvious signs yet of the benefits of any of their policies. I mean, I can see what they're doing. Most of the public will want to see the fruits. We've only just planted the seeds, right? Falling NHS waiting list, that's the one tangible thing, I think. And that might swing it. That might swing it. But it is all very high-stakes stuff. If Reform UK win this by-election and the police find evidence against Lowe, Farage will be insufferable for some time to come. However, that still leaves the grassroots problems. The Stafford branch of Reform UK issued a public statement complaining that their branch had basically been closed down by Region, with no reason given, and that the entire committee had been threatened with disciplinary action. Now, I'm going to discuss some of the wider issues in this statement in a separate video because there's actually a lot to it. Otherwise, I'll just end up on a right tangent. But for now, let us just say that Farage's attempts to make the party more professional and try and hide its rampant racism is actually just drawing attention to the local group's complete lack of professionalism and impossible to hide racism. This is one of Farage's tricky little tightropes. He needs grassroots supporters to go out knocking on doors and delivering leaflets in order to build up a serious ground campaign for elections, including this by-election. He will need to be able to marshal forces for that. But he will be able to do that. It'll be easy. A by-election is just one election in one place on one day. He will, everyone will descend on that. He will be there knocking on doors himself, right? At the next general election, however, you're fighting all the places at once, so he needs way more volunteers to cover the winnable areas. But those grassroots volunteers, just like in any party really, have more extreme views than the key voters they need to win over. But unlike in other parties, it's very difficult to explain the need to appeal to other points of view, right? There's a huge disconnect between the way local Reform UK activists want to behave and how Farage needs them to behave. But like I say, this is to be continued in another video because the drama doesn't end with the spat between Farage and Lowe. It's wider than that. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.